Good morning. Back. My name is Properish. Some of y'all call me James. Welcome to my presentation on Sinking CVN, a point and click escape room game. So let's talk about the project scope for the game that I'm building. I want the player to find himself in an empty berthing room on an aircraft carrier. Now the player doesn't know this obviously until after the introduction's done, but it's gonna be sealed, right? The whole point is to escape this berthing. I want that vibe that he's being rewarded from being on multiple shifts back to back to back to back and not being able to sleep too much. So he finally got to go home and get about 12 to 18 hours before he has to go back to his next shift, right? So he's the only one in this berthing. He was enjoying nice, comfortable relaxation when this emergency situation happened. I'm going to make sure that the player has 5 interactable objects. We may change this one, but so far I'm thinking there's going to be a birthing rack that can be interactable, where you can find an item in it. I want an emergency DC locker, which is also going to have items in it. A fire axe to help with escaping the final room, or to escape the final door. A crowbar and a cheater pipe. The cheater pipe is going to be something that will connect to the locker and to the crowbar. I want the player to be able to combine the crowbar and the cheater pipe to create a leverage bar that they'll be able to open the hatch and actually escape the berthing. To start this, I'm thinking that I want some dialogue interaction that'll happen when the player wakes up to the alarm, as well as every time an item is interacted with, so that they can get a hint on what to do next. Let's talk about the conceptualization. So this started because in an earlier class I made a pirate game, themed game, I guess I should say. And my wife actually enjoyed it. So when we were talking about how we wanted to build this game for this class, I suggested a space station and she suggested submarine. But after a decently length conversation, we came to where she brought in that I should probably put my real life experience, my idea, which led to the idea of me actually creating what I know, an aircraft carrier. I wanted to do an escape room, so there's a lot of ships that have portholes, right? But there's not a lot of ships or a lot of rooms you'll find yourself on or in those ships that have emergency situations, as in like normally there's enough people in those areas because they're constantly manned, is what I'm getting at, right? So I wanted that feel of where could I be alone at, which sadly would be the berthings. But berthings are also probably one of the easiest areas to conceptualize from an aircraft carrier. So I took this idea that we had and my lack of knowledge, since it's been a while of being on the aircraft carrier, to Gemini. I wanted to see how the AI could help me, which, if you look at the bottom left, that's one of the images that it conceptualized for me. So here's how the AI actually ended up helping me, right? After talking with my wife and creating the objectives that we wanted and the concept based around the class objectives itself, we then went to Gemini for accuracy and realism towards what tools could be used on this concept if we're in this. So that led to some updates, right? If you look to the left, you'll see a first person image that it generated first before that third person you saw before. I had to do a little bit more asking to get that third person image, but it also generated these tools in this image when it was explaining more accuracy. So I then asked for layouts of carriers, more specifically my carrier, and it gave me articles and showed me images that and you'll see later on I used as references Now, not all of these images you see are from my carrier, just so you know. But after I got that layout and I made some updates to my overall concept, I took the entire concept as a whole and I plugged it back into Gemini. And I asked its opinion on an overall perspective of if it was a good idea to build this game, if it would work in a birthing, and more information that it could potentially provide to make it even better, while also adding in a perspective of a sailor in that situation. Surprisingly enough, did exactly what I asked. So, here's the flow I'm wanting the player to go through. I want you to wake up to the alarms, right? Flashing lights, the sirens. Enjoy that little emergency panic. It's also going to start with a clue from the dialogue after the alarms, which, if you've been in the military, or more specifically the Navy, you know that means general quarters. So I'm going to have a general quarters alarm go off, which hopefully will lead the player to inspect the watertight hatch that's going to be in the game, find out that it's jammed, find out that there's a pin that's also jammed in there. Hopefully, that they'll know. I'll be able to make it enough to where the player can see both. And then I'm wanting that to lead to a search around the room that'll hopefully find the birthing rack to give the player the cheater pipe. Once they have that cheater pipe, they should be able to open the locker, that emergency DC locker we talked about earlier, so that they can then get the crowbar and the fire axe. Now remember, I said I wanted the cheater pipe and the crowbar to combine. So I have those two items planned as a combination piece for an extended leverage breach bar. After they have the axe and the breach bar, that will give them the two items they need to escape the water type hatch and get out of that room safely. That's it. That's the flow I'm wanting the players to go through. So, top left is what I currently have. If you weren't aware, I'm leaving them on my portfolio, so go take a look if you're coming to this video collection first. But this is a remake of a different version I did that I scrapped and I practically restarted. Okay. So the current layout is those 12 beds, which aren't even beds. They're pillows and benches and some shower racks that I combined to make that temporarily. There's also two lockers there for a little storage and then the door. I changed the angle on the camera. I wanted to make sure that it felt a little more claustrophobic this time around compared to what I had before. Items I don't have in the game that I need to get in are the axe, the crowbar, the pipe, the I need the DC locker, and I need the dialogue and sound effects. Now, the sound effects, I'm not sure, that might come after the course, but it's still something I plan to add into it. So stick around for later on in the progress and see if that ends up getting done successfully. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and watch a little playthrough. Okay. Now that you've seen a little, I won't. There we go. So let's talk about my current postmortem on the game. Yeah. Bear with me. There we go. So currently at this time, my favorite parts have been the forming of the idea, right? I really like sitting down, discussing what path I wanted to take and what layout we were going to build to design this game. That was very enjoyable. And then taking that conversation piece and refining it and getting that idea not really brought to life, but more of a solid vision on how I wanted to move forward. It was very fun. Um, the last the last one I built wasn't really like that. I just kind of had a shallow idea and threw it together, you know. But this one I have a path. The birthing, right? The really good fit for this style of game. Tight quarters, loud noises, flashing lights, all metal room. Like it's a good claustrophobic escape feel. So I have a pretty good solid foundation. Now, restarting this project also made me think even further into the project about how I wanted the layout to be changed, how I wanted items to be different, how I wanted the camera angle to shift, how I potentially wanted the flow to move, which that's always good. The more thought, the more paths I have, the better this goes. The bad, like before, is still probably going to be importing. I don't really have assets in the project, so that means I need to go get them. That's potentially going to be an issue still. So, I have some materials that would work, but I don't really have full items that I could use, which means I'm going to have to build them. Then those meshes are going to be doing work. Also, the flow progression. There's not as many potential flaws as there was in the last time I started this up because I have refined it a lot and I pretty much know the idea I want to go with. But there's still some things I don't really know if I like it or not that I need to refine and finish up. Once I do and I'm playing around with it, I'll be able to dial in that flow better. So, like before, that's still kind of where my mind goes. But that's it. I'm having a good time with this. Again, thank you for joining me. My name is Properish. Some of y'all know me as James. This has been Sinking CVN. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take it easy, y'all.